Today's scripture comes from Psalms 145, 8 through 13. The Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and rich in love. The Lord is good to all. He has compassion on all he has made. All your works praise you, Lord. Your faithful people extol you. They tell of the glory of your kingdom and speak of your might, so that all people may know of your mighty acts and the glorious splendor of your kingdom. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures through all generations. The Lord is trustworthy in all he promises and faithful in all he does. Before we say a prayer tonight, as many of you know, there was a shooting in California, and it affected a lot of people in our sister school of Pepperdine, and a couple students had lost their lives, so I want you guys to keep that in mind as we go to our Father in prayer. Lord and gracious Father, we thank you for this day, this ability to gather here and to be one, Lord. We ask that you be with the families affected by the California shooting. Those families, we ask that you watch over them, you guide them, and that you be there for them during this difficult time. And we ask that as a school we may have compassion and show compassion on those affected by this, Lord. And we don't know why these things happen, but we ask that we may look to you for strength. We thank you for this day and for the many blessings you give us each and every day. And we ask that you be with us as we go through this semester, that we may keep a focus on you and be kingdom people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Am I on? I am on. Let me shift these guys a little bit here. Hopefully they'll stand through. Hey, first thing, I hate to take the place of prayer chapel, so I apologize for that. If you're missing it, I understand. Hopefully I'll say something that's maybe a little inspiring. This Sunday is what? Veterans Day. Veterans Day. We usually recognize Veterans Day in chapel, so that's kind of why I'm here today. Next Monday we'll start a series in chapel and some other stuff, so here I am today on Friday. Before we get too far into what I want to talk about, which is those guys, let's recognize our veterans who are here today. If you are a veteran, if you're active service, would you please stand and be recognized? We'd like to know who you are. There's one. That's all about you, man. There you go. This Sunday, Veterans Day, is a little different than your average Veterans Day. By the way, before it was Veterans Day, it was what? Armistice Day, marking the end of World War I. This Sunday's Veterans Day will mark the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I. 1918, 2018, quick math says. At what time?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Actually, it was 11 after. People don't know that. 11 after the 11th hour, of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. The end of World War I. At least the end of the fight in World War I. Look, I want to talk about vets from a long time ago. All the guys who fought in World War I are gone. Absolutely, they're gone. They're all gone. The last American vet from World War I died in 2011. Anybody happen to know his name? Edward Buckles was his name. Buckles. He was 110 when he died. So this guy had all the luck in the world, apparently. Survived World War I. He was a driver. Actually met Pershing after the war. All these guys are gone, so it's all abstract for us. They're living memories of what happened in World War I. I don't expect you to know a lot about World War I, 1914, 1918. The United States doesn't get involved until 1917, or really 1918. 90% of the American troops that fought in World War I fight in the last 6 months of the war, which sounds like a little late, day late, dollar short. But this was crucial contribution. It's the end of the war, coming toward the end of the war. It determines the end of the war, the outcome of the other Allied powers and associated powers. They just wore themselves out. They'd gone through a whole generation of young men. So we poured in 2 million men toward the end of the war. In 1917, our entire army was 125,000 men. Just to give you a comparative, the army of Portugal at that time, not to just Portugal, but you know what I mean, was 125,000 men. We had a very small military. When we went into the war, we had to gear up immediately to get 4 million men ultimately in uniform and 2 million in theater, in European theater. Training time for these guys got down to almost nothing. In weeks, a few weeks, shipped you out. You really went untrained. You finished your training in Europe and then wound up at the front. I want to talk about that. There's one word we think of in terms of the front in World War I, and it's what?
Trenches.
Trenches. The trenches. Trust me, the trench warfare it's hellish. It's awful. Trenches became the stalemate point. They stalemated on the battlefield across France and Belgium, and then they just dug in. Literally, dug in. Trenches. 500 miles of trenches from Switzerland to the North Sea. And when I say 500 miles, I mean that's the total length of the trench system. When you add up all the trenches that they constructed by hand, under fire, it's about 25,000 miles of trenches. Communications trenches, service trenches, reserve trenches. The two we care about for our purposes this morning are the two front trenches on both sides. Those are separated usually by about 200 to 250 yards. Think of 2 football fields in length, and you're here and they're there. It's not very far. Considering the bolt-action rifle of that day had an effective range of 700 yards. You could easily pick somebody off, and they did. Bolt-action rifle would fire about 10 rounds a minute if you're good at it. It's well-oiled. It's not really the point. In trench warfare, the weapon of death is what? It can be gas. Gas is something you don't want to deal with. Gas is mustard or chlorine usually. Chlorine liquefies your lungs if you breathe it in. Maybe not immediately, but it'll kill you long term. Some of these guys survived the war exposed to chlorine gas. They died 3, 4, 5 years later of effects of the gas. Mustard gas gets on your skin, it burns it, it blinds you, it chokes you to death. The weapon of death on the battlefield trenches is what? Machine gun. If a bolt-action rifle has an effective range of 700 yards, 10 shots a minute, a machine gun has an effective range of 1,500 yards, that's most of a mile, and it fires 400 to 600 rounds a minute. That's the weapon of death. In one day of fighting in 1916 in the Somme, the British lost 20,000 men to machine gun fire. In one day. We have whole wars in American history, we don't lose that many guys. In this one, we're going to lose 116,000 men, like those guys right there. These little steel helmets. What you probably can't tell from the photograph is the size of these guys. They tend to be fairly small. I don't mean to diss anybody who mentions these measurements, but the average U.S. doughboy in World War I is going to be 5'7" in height and 145 pounds. Does that describe anybody here? 145 pounds, 5'7". Anybody want to stand up and show us what size that is? You want to point to somebody who's that size and just humiliate them? There you go. There you go. 5'7", 145. Stand up again. Okay, stand up again. Quick, stand up. Now give me somebody who is the average size of a male U.S. Service personnel today. This is a guy. The average size today for us is 175, 5'11". Who's that? Okay. There you go. Yeah, our one vet, our one guy, our one service guy. You are the average. Sorry, you're just average. That's just the way it works. So we're bigger now. Point being, in part, these are not big guys. They're living in trenches that are 6 feet across, average, 6 feet deep, maybe 7. So if it's 6 feet deep, the average guy could still be below the top, below what's called the parapet. Okay? On the other side of that parapet is your enemy. What you do not want to do is look over the parapet. Some of these guys go to the front, first time, young guys just like you, they get to the trench, they get curious, in the first 5 minutes, they look over the top, and then they're dead. They haven't been there long enough to smoke a cigarette. You don't want to get above the parapet. These guys live in absolute, it's a mess. It's boring in the first place, which sounds counter. It sounds like the opposite. You should be excited. It's not. It's boring. There's not much going on most days. They're in mud almost all the time. You dig 7 feet down in France, Belgium, well, the water table is fairly close, so it seeps up. It's not about rain, it seeps up. And it fills the bottom of the trench to a foot deep. Sometimes it's at your ankles. This isn't my boots are muddy mud. This is at your knees mud. And it's a goopy mud. It's a if you know like pottery slip is what I kind of think of, that means anything to you. It's a thick, gooey, it sticks to you, it sucks you in. It's a nasty mud. You never get rid of it. And this isn't just about an inconvenience. If you stay wet like that long enough, your feet, this isn't about being pruny out of the bathtub. This is your feet staying wet constantly, to the point that you get infection, you get gangrene, and you lose that limb. That's how serious this is. This isn't just inconvenient. This is about really, it's a real problem. There are 2 other living things in the trenches beyond human beings that are always a problem. Lice is one of them. You never get rid of it. Everybody has it. You can go to a delousing station, take off your clothes, they'll delouse those in a separate chamber. You come out, the living lice on your body have been killed. The living lice on your clothes have been killed. You put those back on, you go back to the front, in 2 days you're going to have lice again. Why? Because the eggs don't get killed. The nits don't get killed. You're always going to have it. These guys get really good at what we call, well, we used to term today nitpicking. It means something different for these guys. They would sit around, got really good at having candles, and they would hold their socks or hats or whatever up close to the flame, and they're frying the nits without burning their clothes. You get really good at it. You never get rid of it. It's in the seams of your clothes and seams of your hats. You never get rid of it. The other thing is rats. Rats are everywhere. It's the European brown rat mostly. It's a little smaller than our squirrels on campus. Usually, normally, in the trenches they seem to get pretty big, small cat size. They're everywhere. They spread disease, they bite you, they take your food. The best thing they could do for those was put rat terriers, little dogs, bless their hearts, in the trenches, and they would just have a field day. But you never get rid of it. So rats, lice, mud, boredom, and we haven't even talked about the sheer terror of the day when you actually have to leave the trench, go out, over the top, toward the enemy, across 2 football fields to get there, with machine guns firing 400 to 600 rounds a minute. This is beyond our imagination. I cannot begin to describe to you what that was like. And nobody can, because they're all gone. We just imagine, the way we'd know this is going to happen, by the way, is usually artillery barrage would begin. Once the artillery began, you knew, okay, somebody's going to go out of the trench. Who's it going to be? You try to figure out who's firing at who. If they're firing at you, then what they're trying to do is soften up the field, destroy as much barbed wire between you and them as possible, and then send their guys out of the trench. You almost hope the artillery is actually from the other side toward you, because it means they're coming out of the trench and you're not. Let's assume it's you. It's your guys firing artillery. Again, it is about softening up the enemy line, but it's mostly about destroying as much barbed wire as you can to give you paths to go through to get to the enemy. Barbed wire, by the way, is not about barbed wire fences. It's about coils of wires everywhere. Just pell-mell, just everywhere. It's razor wire equivalent. Then they have these little deals that it's multiple prong little things. It dates back to the Romans, actually. But it's one of these things where you throw it down, and every time you throw it down, no matter how it lands point up. It's got multiple points. It's always point up. That's about horse hooves getting hit in your feet and cutting your boots and stuff like that. So the artillery barrage has gone on for a day or 2. It stops. Your unit commander comes to your group in the trench, says 30 minutes. Battle packs, prepare, 30 minutes. We're going over the top. It's coming out of your trench. You've got 30 minutes to get your world in order. Get your stuff, got all the stuff, get your gun, make sure you're loaded, extra ambush, extra ammo, your gas mask, you're going to hang that around your neck, your pack. 15 minutes, and you start getting really nervous. Wouldn't you? I ready? I've got everything? Oh my gosh, this could be it. My mom. My wife. My sweetheart. Had a grandfather in World War I, James Greg Kelly. Had a sweetheart back in Kansas, taught public school. He went over the top and sent me up. If he survived, or I wouldn't be standing here. 5 minutes. Your world may be 5 minutes long, period, for all you know. So you talk to your buddy, shake his hand, maybe say the last thing you want to say. 2 minutes. Fix bayonets. This is it. What are you going to do in the last 2 minutes? I'll tell you what, probably 90% of these guys probably did in the last 2 minutes is what? Pray. If there are no atheists in foxholes, every one of these guys is praying. God, don't let me be hit. Don't let me be killed. And then, when you get down to zero, the unit commanders had these little tin whistles. They sound like a little kid's whistle. Just a little, and there's almost nothing. That'd be the most ominous sound these guys have ever heard. And out of the trench you ran. En masse, out of the trench. Completely exposed, nothing between you and them for 2 football fields except some barbed wire. And you look for the gaps in the wire. And just imagine if we can, the noise, the ordnance, the gunfire. Is that at you? Where's it coming from? Am I going to make it? Where's my buddy? Men are dropping left and right. You get to the other guy's trench, if you're lucky, I guess if you're lucky, you get to the other guy's trench. You see the sandbags on the edge of his trench. You jump into a trench with no idea what you're going to face when you get down there. You use your gun. You use your bayonet. They sharpen the blades on their shovels, use them as hatchets, hack on guys' necks. They've got knuckle knives, blades about that long. A lot of Americans carried shotguns when we went to the trenches. It's called a trench gun at that point. And that's where you just go down the line, just pumping your shotgun, just clearing the line. The Germans complained, said that was unfair. We said, you stop the gas, we'll stop the shotguns. We kept both up until the end of the war. 116,000 men are going to die. U.S. service personnel, World War I. 10 million total. That didn't count the disease. Look, I want you to just think about this. This Veterans Day, I want you to think about the difference of this Veterans Day. 100 years ago, people you don't know died for your freedom. I know that sounds corny these days to say, but I don't care. I think it's true. You people sit here with your own dreams and aspirations and plans. You've got a future in your head. And hopefully nothing stands in the way of that. These guys that I just talked about have their own plans and dreams and aspirations as well. Same age as you, and never got to see them. I hope you have an appreciation of that. Freedom costs. Costs blood sometimes. So this weekend, Sunday, the 100th anniversary of the end of this war, which was not the war that ended all wars. Unfortunately, as humans, the war is always going to be with us. And war never has winners, by the way. Not really. Just think about these guys. Think about these people in uniform today, men and women today. If you could just take a second sometime this weekend, Sunday, whatever it is, and just pray for our service personnel, for what they have to do that you don't want to do, that has to be done by somebody. Because every generation has to keep doing this, or freedom comes to an end. That's all I got for you, so thanks.